Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget friendly, and delicious. So if you're looking for some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. For dinner this first night, I'm making BBQ drumsticks. I'm going to start out though by starting one of the sides so that can be sitting in the fridge while I make the rest of dinner. I've shared this before. This is my mom's friend Donna, her corn salad recipe. I'm going to say recipe loosely. When she sent this to me, it was just a list of ingredients, no measurements. So just eyeball it, do what makes it, do whatever feels right to you. Here are the ingredients that we're going to use. First up, we've got some Shoepeg corn. Now I have 2 cans here pictured. I only ended up using 1 can just for the 2 of us. Donna's recipe calls for garlic salt, which I didn't have, so I'm just going to use garlic powder and then some salt and pepper. I've got some mayonnaise, green onions, tomatoes. I have some grape tomatoes on hand, so I'm going to use those. Cucumber, and then her recipe also calls for bell pepper, which I didn't have, so I'm just going to skip it today. In this bowl here, I've got the corn, which I drained really well. I chopped up the green onions and the grape tomatoes. I seeded and chopped the cucumber. And then I added enough mayonnaise just to coat everything and then seasoned it to taste with the garlic powder, salt, and pepper. I stirred this together really well. You could eat this right away, but I like to cover it and put it in the fridge for at least 30 minutes, maybe up to an hour or 2, and then it'll be ready to serve. Now I'm going to start the chicken. The oven is preheating to 375 degrees. I have a baking sheet that I've lined with foil, and I like to cook these on a wire rack. You don't have to. I'm going to take my chicken drumsticks, and chicken drumsticks are usually a really great price, and because it's dark meat on the bone, it's really flavorful. But you can use chicken breasts, tenders, thighs, whatever you prefer. So to season this up, use whatever seasonings you like. I am going to use the Kinder's barbecue seasoning, the Kinder's brown sugar garlic seasoning, and then just a tiny little bit of salt. There is salt in both of those seasonings, so just be mindful of that, and then some pepper. I'm going to rub that on both sides of the drumsticks, and then I'm going to pop this into the preheated oven and bake this for about 20 minutes on the first side, give it a flip, and then cook it for another 20 to 25 minutes on the other side until the chicken is at least 165 degrees internal temperature. For the other side, I tried a new recipe for brown sugar bacon Brussels sprouts. I saw this on Instagram. The lady's name is Mama Cooks Low Carb. I'll have it linked down below. So I'm going to take this bag of Brussels sprouts. They've already been washed and trimmed. I'm going to give them a chop. I place them onto a greased baking dish. Next, I'm going to take a couple tablespoons of butter and slice them into thin slices and then arrange them over the Brussels sprouts. Once I've done that, I'm going to take a couple slices of bacon. I've just given this a chop. I'm going to sprinkle that over the Brussels sprouts. The recipe said to use the Kinder's blend seasoning, which is basically salt, pepper, and garlic. I have this on hand, so that's what I'm going to use. You can use whatever seasonings you prefer. Now we're going to add on some sliced almonds, and then last but not least, we're going to sprinkle some brown sugar over top of this. Her recipe said to use a brown sugar replacement because she's a low carb account, but I'm just using regular brown sugar. Use your preference. This is going to go into the preheated oven at 375. This is going to bake for about 20-25 minutes. At that point, I'm going to remove it from the oven. This is what it looked like. Give this a good stir, and then this is going to go back into the oven for another 20 to 25 minutes or so. Here's what the drumsticks look like when they were done. You could totally eat them as is, but I like to add some barbecue sauce on them. So I'm going to brush that all over the chicken. And then I like to pop this back into the oven for maybe about 5 minutes or so to allow that barbecue sauce to set and get really nice and caramelized. And a quick note, especially this time of year, you can absolutely cook this on an outdoor grill, on a George Foreman, and an air fryer, whatever's easiest for you. All right, here are the finished drumsticks, and then we've got the finished Brussels sprouts, and these Brussels sprouts were really yummy. I enjoyed this, and I would definitely make this again. And then, of course, we have the corn salad. Next up, I'll show you the plates. All right, so here are the plates. We've got the chicken, the corn salad, the Brussels sprouts. Everything was so delicious. That chicken had such great flavor and was so tender and juicy. The corn salad is nice and fresh, and those Brussels sprouts, like I said, they were yummy. Next, we did a little date. It was my pick, and I had really been wanting Cheddar's. If you're not familiar with Cheddar's, they're a chain restaurant. So starting out, they bring you croissants with some kind of like honey butter, I think. They are so delicious. They are perfectly airy and light. So good. All right, next, this might sound silly, but this is the whole reason I wanted to go to Cheddar's, was for their chips and queso and their salsa. I know you might be thinking, Megan, at an American chain restaurant, not a, Mexican restaurant. Yes, it is delicious. So good. Their salsa, I don't know, it just has the perfect texture. It's so fresh. Now, they say they make all of their sauces and the salsa and everything from scratch every day. It tastes like it. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. I've never went into their kitchen to make sure, but it tastes like it. And then their queso, I don't really know how to explain it. It looks like Velveeta, but it doesn't taste like Velveeta, if that makes any sense. It doesn't have that same texture. It's just really, really delicious. For one of my sides, I got a side salad. I ate about half of this and Gary ate the other half. And then for the entrees, I got their chicken tenders, which their chicken tenders are really good. And then I got their broccoli cheese casserole. They have changed their broccoli cheese casserole though. Now it's a broccoli cheese rice casserole, which it was okay. I prefer their old broccoli casserole, but it was still delicious. And then for Gary's entree, he got, I think he calls it it's called the smokehouse burger, and then loaded french fries. And this was so much food. So we took home 2 of the 4 croissants they brought us. I ended up eating 2 of the chicken tenders, so we took the other 3 home. And then we took Gary's loaded fries home. He didn't eat any there at the restaurant. We were so full. And so he just had those for lunch the next day. And this was our dinner, and it was so good. For dinner the next night, I'd really been wanting pancakes, so I decided to make them for dinner, of course. To get started, I have these apple maple chicken breakfast sausages. I got these at Publix, I don't know, months ago. They were BOGO. I've had them in my freezer. I just allowed them to thaw. So for the pancakes, I'm going to use Fallon's Buttermilk Pancake recipe. I will link that down in the description box below. I did have the recipe, by the way. So to my bowl, I've added some all-purpose flour, sugar, baking powder, and then salt. I'm going to stir that until it's combined really well and then set that to the side. I'm now going to get started on the wet part of the mixture. So to a little measuring cup, I'm going to add in the buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk, you could just use regular milk that you add a little bit of vinegar or lemon juice to. I'm going to add in the egg and then the vanilla. I've also got a little bit of melted butter. I think Fallon's recipe calls for oil. You could use melted butter or oil, whatever your preference is. I'm going to whisk that until it's combined really well, and then I'm going to add the wet to the dry and stir it until it's combined. You can have some lumps. Don't worry about getting all the lumps out. It was a little bit thick for my particular liking. If you like super thick pancakes, you can leave it as is, but I wanted to thin it out, so I added just a little bit more buttermilk, and then that's it. We're ready to cook the pancakes up. So I decided to cook everything out on the Blackstone, which I have a love-hate relationship with my Blackstone. I'm still trying to get used to it and figure it out. It does cook hot, as you can see. The pancakes and sausages, they got burnt. That's what it is. And I had the heat on low, so it definitely cooks hot. I cooked up the pancakes and the sausage links and then scrambled up some eggs. And I have the smaller Blackstone. I think it's like a 20-inch or something like that, 26-inch. But it's perfect for just the 2 of us. So here are the finished pancakes and sausages. The second batch definitely was less burnt than the first batch of pancakes. And then I warmed up some maple syrup and set out some of that cinnamon honey butter that we got at the farmer's market a couple weeks ago. Here are the plates. We've got the pancakes, the butter. I added the syrup at the last minute. We've got some of the sausage and fresh fruit. And this was okay. I mean, the pancakes definitely had a burnt flavor to it. But, you know, hey, it fed us, so it works just fine. For dinner the next night, I tried the viral Boursin pasta that's been going around, and y'all, this did not disappoint. This was so good. Now, I will disclaim this, though, by saying that I've been wanting to make this for a while. However, the recipes that I was looking at called for 2 blocks of Boursin, and Boursin is pretty expensive, at least for me and my budget anyway. So I kept watching for Boursin, like when I would go to the grocery store or when I took the sales ads, I kept watching for it to go on sale, and I finally caught it at Target. it on sale a week or two before I made this. So I was like, yes, please. I knew I had to add this to the menu plan, and it did not disappoint. So if you can catch Boursin on sale, or, you know, if regular price, if that's in your budget, I highly recommend you give this recipe a try. It was delicious. Now, I've seen this all over Instagram and YouTube, and I've seen so many people make it, so I just kind of did a combination of different things that I've seen from people. But I know Jessica O'Donoghue made a version of this, so I'll link her video down in the description box below. I've got the oven preheating to 400 degrees. In a baking dish, I'm going to add some grape tomatoes. Next, I'm going to drizzle them with some oil. I happen to have some basil infused oil on hand, so I'm going to use that up, and plus it'll give it good flavor. I'm going to add some salt and pepper and then toss that with the grape tomatoes, and then I'm just going to kind of move them to the side to make room for the cheese. So here's the Boursin cheese. I'm using the garlic and herb. I'm sure whatever flavor you like would be fine in this, but I'm just adding the 2 things of Boursin in, and like I said, I've seen many different recipes that use 2. I've also seen many recipes that use 1. So again, just whatever your preference is. We're going to drizzle a little more olive oil on top of the cheese, and then I'm going to drizzle some balsamic vinegar over top. I can't remember who I saw do that, but it looked delicious, and so I gave it a try. It was so good. Next, we're going to add some minced garlic, and then crushed red pepper flakes. Just add as many crushed red pepper flakes to your taste. I'm also going to add in some oregano. This is dried, and then add a little bit more salt and pepper, and then that's it. I'm going to put this into the preheated 400-degree oven, and I baked mine for about 35 minutes or so. You just want to bake it until the tomatoes start to pop. I am going to use some of this fusilli pasta. I got this at Trader Joe's. I'm going to cook it in salted water according to the package instructions. Use your favorite pasta shape. All right, here's what this looked like after about 35 minutes. As you can see, the tomatoes have started to burst open. So all you're going to do at this point is take either a fork or the back of a spoon, whatever you prefer, and we're just going to mash everything up. We're going to mash that cheese and the tomatoes just kind of pop, and the cheese mixed with the juices of the tomatoes just forms this luscious sauce. Now, I do recommend that while you're boiling your pasta, you do save some of the reserved pasta water in case you need to add it to your sauce. So this is optional. I'm going to add in some fresh basil, and then I happen to have some already cooked shrimp in my fridge. I used this to make a poke bowl for us for lunch, and I had it left over. I wanted to use it, so I'm just going to toss that in. It's already cooked, so with the residual heat and popping it back in the oven, it'll be just fine. Once I've added the shrimp, I'm going to add in some freshly grated Parmesan cheese, give that a stir, and then I'm going to toss in that cooked pasta. Now, I am going to give this a stir. I was happy with the texture, but again, if you feel like it's a little tight for you, you can add some of that pasta water. Now, at this point, you can stop and eat it as is, but I saw some recipes that said to add a little more cheese and finish it in the oven, so that's what I'm going to do. Added a little bit more Parmesan, popped it back in the oven for just maybe about 7 to 10 minutes until the cheese was good and melted, and then once it came out of the oven, I added a little more fresh basil on top as a garnish. I've seen lots of people say that this roasted tomato and Parmesan focaccia bread from Trader Joe's was delicious. We happened to be in there the day before this, and so I grabbed it. I just warmed it up according to the package instructions, and then here are the plates. So we've got that pasta, the focaccia, and then we had some of the leftover grilled summer vegetable salad I made a few nights ago. That was on last week's What's for Dinner video. I'll have that linked in the description box below. And this dinner was so good. Like I said, that pasta was amazing. We both absolutely loved it. That grilled summer salad, that was really good. Now, it was cold this night, but it was still delicious. And the focaccia bread, I don't know if it was just this batch or not. Gary loved the focaccia bread. I felt like it was a lot more dense than the focaccia bread I've had in the past. It was okay. I don't know that I would buy it again, but again, maybe it was just the batch that we got or something. But anyway, this was our dinner. So delicious. For dinner the next night, I tried another viral recipe. This time it was the smash burger tacos. I know you've probably seen these everywhere like I have. And yet again, this did not disappoint. These were so incredibly delicious. Now, I was going to cook these out on the Blackstone, but Gary had the gym this night and I wanted to make his fresh for him when he got home. And I didn't want to heat up the Blackstone just to cook one for me and then turn it off and then heat it up again to make his. So I just did it, you know, inside on top of the stove. So for the burgers, I took a pound of ground beef. I used 93.7, just use your preference. I formed them into, I think it was 5 or 6 little golf ball size balls. And then to season them up, use whatever seasonings you prefer. I'm going to do the Kinder's blend as well as the buttery steakhouse. I've got my skillet heated over about medium-high heat. I'm going to add one of my little hamburger balls to that. I've already seasoned the first side up. I'm going to season the second side. And once I've got that second side seasoned, I'm going to add my tortilla. Now, I used fajita-sized tortillas. That fits the size of the meat I'm using. You can just adjust it based on what you've got. I'm going to then take a hamburger press and really press that down. You really want to thin out your hamburger patty and give it a really good squish. If you don't have a hamburger press like this, no worries, just use a small skillet, whatever you've got. So once that first side, the hamburger is cooked to our liking, we're going to give it a flip, and then you just want to cook this for a minute or two on the second side to allow the tortilla to get you know, golden brown and crispy. We're also going to add a slice of American cheese so that can melt while the tortilla is cooking, and that's it. All right, so to top these, most everything that I've seen, people will use lettuce, pickles, and then some kind of burger sauce, as well as diced onions. We don't prefer raw onions in our burgers, so I'm going to skip that. For the burger sauce, I've heard people say this Kinder's burger sauce is really good, so I grabbed that. I also am going to slice up a tomato and set out the ketchup and mustard in case Gary wants to add that to his burgers. And real quick, I forgot to mention, I've got a yummy burger sauce. It's like a copycat In-N-Out sauce. I've shared it before on my channel. It's delicious. I'll link it down in the description box below in case you want to give that a try. So for my side, I have a little bit of these Alexia sweet potato fries left that I need to use up. I love putting the Kinder's brown sugar garlic on these sweet potato fries. So delicious. So I just cooked the fries in the air fryer and then sprinkled some of that seasoning last minute. Here is my plate. I added some of the lettuce, pickles, and some of that burger sauce to my smash burger taco. And then I've got the sweet potato fries with that seasoning and a little honey mustard for dipping. For Gary's plate, I did 2 tacos for him. One I did just like mine, so just the lettuce, the burger sauce, and the pickles. The other one, I added the tomato and ketchup and mustard, and he said he actually preferred it with just the lettuce, burger sauce, and pickles, but that was just his preference. And then for his side, I had some of the Red Robin steak fries that needed to be used up, so I just cooked those in the air fryer as well. And that was our dinner, and these tacos were delicious. Can't wait to make them again. The next day, I just was not into cooking at all, so we did frozen chicken nuggets and boxed macaroni and cheese. I'd bought these Tyson chicken nuggets a few weeks ago. They were on sale at Kroger for like $4.99, which is a great deal. And then I've got this box of the Kraft cauliflower mac and cheese in my pantry I need to use up. So to mix that up, I'm going to also use a little bit of milk, butter, and some American cheese slices. Now, when I went to open the box of the macaroni and cheese, the cheese packet had opened and was like all over the macaroni. So luckily I had another box of the Great Value thick and creamy macaroni and cheese in my pantry, so I'm just going to use that instead of the Kraft cauliflower. I cooked the chicken nuggets in the air fryer. I did 400 degrees for I think about 6 or 7 minutes, gave them a flip, cooked them for another 6 or 7 minutes or so, and then I cooked the macaroni and cheese according to the package instructions, and I added in a slice of American cheese at the end. Here's a picture of our plate. So we've got some of the chicken nuggets, the macaroni and cheese. Gary requested buffalo sauce to dip his nuggets in. That's the just the Buffalo Wild Wings bottled. And then I love McDonald's barbecue sauce with nuggets, and luckily we had a couple packages in our fridge, so I used that for my dipping. And then the day before, Gary had wrap from Tropical Smoothie Cafe. He hadn't eaten the kale apple salad, so I set that out for him to eat along with his nuggets and macaroni and cheese. Super simple dinner, but it hit the spot and it was yummy. For the last dinner in this week's video, I'm making chicken salad sandwiches. I make chicken salad a couple different ways. I call this my fruit and nut version. So to this bowl, I'm going to add in some mayonnaise. You could use Miracle Whip if you prefer. Next, I'm going to add in some salt and pepper, and then you can add whatever seasonings you like. I like to add in a little dry ranch dressing mix. I've heard the Chicken Salad Chick does this. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's delicious. So I'm going to mix that up and then add in our goodies. So I'm adding in some slivered almonds. I'm also going to add in some grapes. I halved them. If they were really large, I quartered them. I'm going to add in some apple that I chopped up pretty fine. And then last but not least, we're going to add our chicken to our chicken salad. I have some rotisserie chicken here that I shredded up. You can use leftover chicken, cook up your own chicken. You can dice it, whatever you prefer. I'm going to stir it until it's combined really well and then place it into the refrigerator covered and allow it to sit and let the flavors come together until we're ready for it for dinner. For this side, I'm making some broccoli salad. I know I've shared this before, but I wanted to share it again because it's so yummy. I will put the recipe down in the description box below that I kind of loosely follow. We're going to start out by making this sauce. So to this bowl, I've got some mayonnaise. You could use Miracle Whip. I'm going to add in a little splash of vinegar, and then the recipe doesn't call for milk, but I like to add just a little bit of milk to thin it out. And then we're going to add some granulated sugar. To season this up, I'm going to use some salt and pepper, and then that's pretty much it. I'm going to give this a stir and mix it until it's really well combined. Give it a taste, see if you want a little more sweet, a little more vinegar kick, and then we're going to add all of our goodies. So I like to add cranberries into my broccoli salad as well as sunflower seeds. I'm also going to add in some shredded cheese. Normally, I like to shred my own, but I had this pre-shredded on hand, so I'm just going to use that. It'll work just fine. For the bacon, I'm using some packaged bacon bits to keep it simple, but you can, of course, cook up your own bacon and crumble that. I'm going to give that a good stir, and you could add some red onion in this. You could add some coleslaw or broccoli slaw mix, but I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm just going to add in some broccoli. I like to chop mine up until it is bite-sized pieces, and I'm going to give that a really, really good stir. Cover this and then place this into the refrigerator and allow it to chill until dinner, at least a couple hours. All right, here's the finished chicken salad, and you can eat this with crackers or in a wrap. We're going to make sandwiches out of it. And then we've got the broccoli salad. It is so, so yummy. All right, so for the sandwiches, I've got some croissants. I just got these from Walmart. And then Gary likes lettuce and tomato on his chicken salad sandwiches, so I'm going to slice the tomato up for him, but I like it just plain. So here's a picture of my plate. Gary ate later than I did, and I forgot to get a picture of his, but it was basically the same thing. I just sliced the croissants, added some of the chicken salad, and like I said, I added some lettuce and tomato on his sandwiches, and then, or his sandwich rather, and then we had the broccoli salad, and that was our dinner this night. All right, that is it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. You got some dinner inspiration from it. If you did enjoy it, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.